try to convert from a decimal to a normal fraction, for instance, if you are given 0.3, you would just simply count the number of decimal places and put whatever number is there over a 1 and so many zeros. So in this case, there's one digit on the right hand side of the comma, so it will be 3 over a 1 and 1 0. And that's it, 3 over 10. That's the conversion from the decimal to the normal fraction. But now if you have, for argument's sake, 0.04, then you would write this in a fraction form as the 4 that is there, but over a 1 and 2 zeros, because there were two decimal digits. But that number 4 over 100 can be simplified, because 4 can go into itself once and into 100 25 times. So that fraction will not be 4 over 100, it will actually be 1 over 25, that 0.04. So just always remember that you must simplify your fraction as well. And then you might have a number with something on the left hand side of the comma other than a 0, such as 1,3, for argument's sake. Then you would write this as 13 over the one digit on that right hand side. So it will be 10, just the same as what you did there, exactly the same, 1 and a 0 below the line, because there's only one decimal digit, but you will take the whole number and put that as your numerator. Alternatively, you can see that that is a whole number, and you can write that on the left hand side of your fraction, making a mixed number out of it. So you could just use the 3 and write that as 3 over 10 and put the number on the left hand side of the comma as the whole number portion, 1 and 3/10, or you can write it as an improper fraction, 13 over 10, and then simplify that if you have to as well to 1 and 3 over 10. So that's the conversion for most fractions. Most decimal fractions, you can just simply add the number of decimal places and put that many number of zeros below the line with the 1 and simplify if you have to. To convert from a fraction form to a decimal form or a percentage form or even a ratio form involves certain techniques at times, and other times it will just be a normal converting process. So for argument's sake, if you have something like 3 over 10, for argument's sake, then you've got a 0, a 1, very important, you've got the 1 and a 0. It could be 2 zeros or 3 zeros, doesn't really matter. We'll take a look at an example just now, but it must have a 1 and a number of zeros below the line. Then you simply count the number of zeros, and that will indicate the number of decimal places if you convert from a fraction to a decimal. So in this case, since we've got just one digit above the line and 1 0 below the line, the decimal equivalent of 3 over 10 will be 0.3. Just one decimal place on the right hand side of the comma, equivalent to the 1 0 below the line. If you have, for argument's sake, 3 over 100, now you have 2 zeros below the line, but you've got one digit above the line. So you will fill up with the zeros from the right hand side of the comma until you've got enough places. So in this case then it will be 0.03. Still needs to be 2 decimal places, the same as the number of zeros, and then whatever is standing above the line you can then just use in the decimal fraction. If you have 3 over 1,000, then it will be 0.003. But very important, you must have a 1 and a number of zeros below the line. So if you have something like 1 over 4, then obviously the 4 is not a 1 and a 0, but it can very easily be converted to 10. So you just multiply by 2.5, or alternatively just multiply by 25. Then it becomes 100. Easier to work with 25 than 2,5. And you will multiply above the line by exactly the same number. So you will have 25 over 100. Now you've got 2 zeros below the line and a 1, and you've got 2 digits to use, so the equivalent decimal fraction will be 0.25. 2 decimal places equating to the 2 zeros below the line. If you cannot get the number below the line to become a 10 or 100 or 1,000, then you can do either long division or short division. Short division is normally a lot easier, especially if you've got just one digit above the line. So if you are given 3 over 7 and you need to convert that to a decimal fraction, then you will use short division by saying the 3 that is above the line goes inside the little house, and the 7 goes outside, and you put a comma and a few zeros in there, as many as you like. Normally 3 or 4 will be sufficient. And then you start by saying 7 goes into 3 0 times, and then you put the comma directly above the other one, and then you move to the next number by taking that 3 that is now remaining and put it there. So now you've got 30, and 7 goes into 30 4 times. 4 times by 7 is 28, so there's another 2 that remains. You put that 2 there, and there suddenly now you've got 20. And 7 goes into 20 2 times. 2 times by 7 is 14, and that means there's another 6 left, so you put that 6 there, and that gives you 60. And 7 goes into 60 8 times. 8 times by 7 is 56, which means there's another 4 left, so you put that 4 there, that gives you 40. 7 goes into 40 a total of 5 times. 5 times by 7 is 35. And so you can carry on. You can add as many zeros as you like, but there we've got the decimal fraction that is the same as 3 over 7. So we've converted. So just remember, if it's easy enough, do it the easy way out by converting from a normal fraction to a decimal. But if you can't convert the number below the line, or if it isn't already a 1 and a couple of zeros, just use the short division technique. It's quick and easy, really. You can just use that. It's a nice way to convert from fraction to decimal.